Hi there. Welcome back or welcome to Recovering Out Loud. If you or someone you love is struggling with drugs or alcohol, please shoot me a message. You are no longer alone. You can send a message to @RecoveringOutLoudPod on all social media platforms, and I will direct you to get you or your loved one some help today. There are plenty of free tools and resources for you or a loved one to get help. Please follow, like, and subscribe to the channel to help support the show. I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, it's been a good week, I would say. I think like my higher power, God, whatever you want to call it, throws people, like if I got anything from that conference, from that experience, it was service. I don't know if you, like a lot of people were talking about service and sticking with new people and stuff like that. So it's funny how I come back and all these new people start showing up in my life, in my text messages. And so I think that that's, I'm still new myself too, right? But that's a sign, I think, that I'm supposed to be doing that. I'm supposed to be hanging out with people. The new job I got at the rehab, I'm constantly talking to new people on the phone and parents and stuff like that. So that's been, really good. I'm getting reminded of how good my life is, So, yeah. Brigid, thanks so much for coming down. I appreciate it. I want to tell a little bit of the story about how we met because I think it's important, and the universe has plans for me, I think. I don't think it's a coincidence that I was at the airport coming back from Vancouver, and I needed to charge my phone or my laptop or something. And I went and sat in the one seat where the charger was, and you were sitting right there. And then I had run into a friend of mine who came up to me and started yelling that we were in recovery together, which I think there was a time in my life where, I can't cross my legs, that's not happening. There was a time in my life where I think that really would have bothered me, is somebody like outing my anonymity. But today I really don't care, obviously. As you can see, I really don't care because look what happened. Usually good things happen out of that. And usually people don't come up and, oh, this guy's in recovery, like we're going to make fun of him or put him in the newspaper, like I think is going to happen. So I sit beside you and you look at me, are you in recovery? Yeah, me too. And like what are the chances of that, right? You're from Toronto. And then it ends up that our seats are like right behind each other on the plane. So it was a cool experience of how we met. And I thought, you know what, I got to have her on the podcast because you've been sober quite a while now. Yeah.
12 years.
12 years.
12 and a half
Amazing.
years.
So yeah, that half year is important. Yeah. I agree. I'm not being sarcastic. I really, every time I say I relapsed, like I was like, I had 7.5 years, not 7, 7.5. That was a long, hard half year. Because I don't know, for people like us, maybe you can relate. Like I couldn't even imagine getting a few minutes together at one point in my life. So that half year is a miracle. The day is a miracle, right? So thanks so much for coming. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story, how you came into recovery and what your life is like today?
Thank you so much for having me. I do think that it was a little bit divine, us meeting in the lounge before we got on the plane and then sitting right next to each other. Yeah, and that's kind of like one of the wonderful things I think about recovery and sobriety is the way that it connects me to people and the community that I find. Almost every single one of my friends is also sober. And I love them all so much. And like, I'm so grateful for that. And actually, so the person who got me sober was my best friend from high school. I think I always liked to party. Like I always liked to have fun. It was the first thing that really made me feel a part of the world. I was a nerdy, weird kind of kid. And I was seeking escape before I ever found drugs or alcohol. I often say that the first thing I found was books. I would read obsessively. I would read for hours. I would read till dawn. And it was the one way that when I was 11, I could get out of how I was feeling because the way I was feeling was not good. I remember the first time that I wanted to kill myself, I was like 11 years old. Wow. And so when I got to high school and I made friends and I started partying, it was like my life opened up. And I really feel like at that time, it saved my life. You know, before drinking ruined my life, it got me through when I really didn't have anything else. And it was fun. I think that that's one thing that I like to remind myself of. Like, I can be stupid, but I am not stupid. And I drank because it did something for me. Like, it helped me.
Yeah.
I needed it, you know? And then I, of course, took it way too far, and it became a problem, and I couldn't stop, and like all of that stuff. But before it hurt me, it really helped me. And so I just, like, I like to party. I like to have a good time. I like to go out. I like to dance. I like to laugh. I like to go woo. I like to take shots. Like, I liked all of that stuff. And it didn't feel like a problem for a long time, in large part because all of the people around me were worse. They were overdosing. They were getting kicked out of school. They were getting suspended. They were having the cops called on them. They were having like bad stuff happening. And I was doing okay, you know? But they all kind of fell away, right? And I think that I was just left as the drunk girl at the party, you know? And what had started as something that made me feel connected to the world, all of a sudden, like, it became the only thing that mattered, right? Like, I was going out and I was drinking and I was around people, but I was not engaging with the conversation. I was not present. The only thing I was thinking about was like how many drinks I had, how drunk was I, how many more until I got to where I needed to go, holding up the bottle and like doing the math, how many shots do I have left? And this constant math of how fucked up can I get, right? And what happened was my best friend from high school, I had kind of made peace with the fact that she was going to die. She had gotten into some very hard drugs. And it had been like, I was 21 at the time, and it had been a few years since I'd really seen her like laugh or smile or be present, you know? She was kind of like a zombie. And we had lost a friend before to an overdose. And so the reality of her death felt very present. And I had some bad nights. I had worried for a long time about my relationship to alcohol and whether I had a drinking problem, and was the way that I drank normal and all of this stuff. It was something that I thought about a lot. And I made myself a promise that I was not going to drink for a year. And a little after I made this promise to myself, this friend calls me, and I remember this conversation so clearly. I remember she laughed, and it was, I had not spoken to this person in years, the person on the phone. I had spoke to my friend, but I had not spoken to the person on the phone in years, right? And she was sober. She was like 2 months sober. And we made a plan to go out of town and visit a friend together. And she was going to meetings every day. We went out the first night we got there, and we went to a bar with this friend, and we were all hanging out, and I was so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable. I felt like my skin was too tight, and I couldn't think, and I couldn't be present, and I couldn't talk, and I just wasn't there, right? And like, that's why I drank, because when I had a drink, all of those feelings fell away.
Gone.
And I was able to be present, and I was able to be funny, and I was able to be real, and I was able to be myself, right? Because when I was sober, there was none of that. There was none of that. And I remember going down to the bathroom and staring at myself in the mirror and thinking, you can just have one. It's not a big deal. It'll be fine. But I didn't end up having that drink because I didn't want to drink in front of my newly sober friend.
We
right?
just promised. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the next morning, she's going to a meeting every day, and I tag along for moral support, you know? And
I don't have a problem. I'm helping my friend. I'm helping my friend with the problem. I'm just here for support.
I'm just here for support, you know? I really want to support her on her journey, right? And they played this tape, and they said that you're an alcoholic if you can't stop once you start, which I had known forever. I had known since the moment I started drinking that once I started, all bets were off. I did so many things to control how I drank. I would only bring out a certain amount of money. I would only buy a certain amount of alcohol. I remember drinking shots of olive oil before I drank to make the liquor like absorb slower.
Wow.
I remember having steak every time I drank so that I would have something in my stomach so I wouldn't get so drunk. I would avoid certain liquors, like all of the stuff to control it. And so when they said that, I was like, well, yeah, like I knew that. And then they said the other piece though is like, that would be fine. That would be fine if I didn't start drinking, but I always started drinking, right? I always started drinking, thinking this time it'll be different. And they said that the second piece is that you can't stay stopped. And in that moment, I understood what had happened the night before when I was having that conversation in the mirror. And I burst into tears and I thought my life was over. I really thought my life was over. Yeah. I was 21 and I had never had a good time without alcohol in my system, right? Like, it was the centerpiece of my life. It was my best friend. I didn't know that you could have fun without it. And being 21, there was not a lot of people around who did have fun without it. And I remember my friend said, "I'm so happy for you." And I said, "What are you talking about? This is the worst day of my life. Like my life is over." Yeah. Right? But she was right. She was right. Because I came home and I didn't get sober right away. I had a few times where I thought maybe I can control it. And I would, have 2 drinks and I would hold on tight and I would go to bed and I would think, phew, not alcoholic. But inevitably, when I drank the way I wanted to drink, the same thing would happen. And it wasn't until I really got serious and joined a fellowship and did some work and did a set of steps that everything started to change for me. Because I was so young, identifying as an alcoholic was a little bit tricky. Yeah. But I went crazy when I stopped drinking. I was emotionally like so all over the place. I was crying one minute and then laughing the next. I was so anxious and uncomfortable. There were days that just felt like hell on earth. And I remember thinking, this is not a normal reaction to not drinking anymore. This is not a normal reaction to not having alcohol in my system. And so I was able to identify by what sobriety felt like, by what being dry felt like, and how abnormal that reaction was. Because what I realized is how much I needed alcohol to fix whatever was going on with me.
Sorry, so you identified with other people or with the fact that maybe I'm an alcoholic because I'm so in, I don't know, combat with myself when I'm sober.
Yes,
right?
The latter, right? Yeah. I think that if I wasn't an alcoholic, then
easy peasy.
I would stop drinking and the problems would go away. Yeah. I would feel better, right? Because I would remove the problem and then everything would be good. Yeah. And in fact, what happened is I removed the problem and everything got worse. Yeah. Because I no longer had a way to fix how I felt.
A solution.
I no longer had a solution, right? And so, I haven't, in sobriety, like I haven't always done the things that I was supposed to do. And to this day, I can still remind myself that I'm an alcoholic and I need to work on that because of how it feels when I don't work on it, because of how irritable I get, because of how uncomfortable I get, because of how crazy I get. And like, if I ever have a moment when I think it's been 12 and a half years, I'm a very different person than I was when I stopped drinking, right? Which is true. Yeah. I can think about what it feels like when I don't do the work.
Recovery. Yeah.
When I don't do recovery. And that is not how a non-alcoholic feels when they don't do recovery. That is not how a non-alcoholic feels when they don't have a solution, because they don't need a solution, right? And so, The first year was crazy. I did have to be hospitalized because my suicidal ideation was so bad. I think I had two tools in my toolbox, suicide and alcohol. And you took away alcohol, and it was just like, I just didn't want to be here anymore. I just didn't want to be here anymore. But I got the help that I needed for that. And I continued to do the work, and I found that I was able to develop other coping skills, and I was able to, fill the hole inside of me that I had been pouring alcohol all over since I had been like 13 years old, Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's, that was amazing. I needed to hear that today. I think that piece about, I haven't heard somebody say it quite like that but I definitely resonate with that, where it's like, when the average person stops putting drugs, alcohol, whatever the hell, gambling, sex, whatever in their body, the solution like automatically appears. And it's just like, oh, well, that was close, right? That was a close call. But the way you described, resonating with that feeling of, you take away the drugs and the alcohol, and because I can relate to that when I don't work on my recovery today, and it's not just going to meetings, it's not just 12-step work, there's a whole gambit of things that I have to do, connecting with people, connecting with a mentor in on a daily basis. Even I feel significantly worse when I'm not working on my recovery in that aspect than when I am. It's like it's night and day, right? And so I appreciate you kind of painting a nice picture with that. That's really nice. Yeah. It's like, I can't relate to what all these people are going through when I come in, and I came in at 23. So, 21, I can only imagine, right? Like, you come in and there's all these old people, getting sober and have jobs and cars, and you don't notice like the people in the corners, right? That are like you notice all the people that are coming up and talking to you, and 20 years, that's all I heard, right? It's like 20 years, 30 years. I'm like, why are you still here, man? Like, why are you still coming here? Right. That was my first reaction when I came in. And so I was always taught to notice the similarities and not the differences, right? That's something that I struggle with today, because it's very easy to look at the differences, right? You mentioned getting outside help. I think that's really important in recovery too. How did you go about doing that? Like, how did you even know you needed that? When did you come to a point in recovery where you're like, maybe there's other bases I need to cover and not just this drinking problem?
I mean, what happened was I wanted to die so badly. Fantasizing about killing myself was the only thing that gave me relief in that moment, right? And the hysterical crying would start when I thought of all the reasons I couldn't do it. And what that meant about having to continue to feel the way that I was feeling. And so I called my dad, and I said, like, I need to go to the hospital. And so we went to CAMH, and they admitted me, and I got some time to kind of level out. And, I have done therapy on and off over the years. The program, 12-step fellowship, doesn't fix everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes, though, like, it gets me to the door.
Yeah.
I think that it can show me where I need to go. And like, that's the power of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then somebody else takes it from there. But it can't fix everything for me.
Yeah, it's a good point though. It kind of shines light though on these problems, and it's like, I can't be the only one going through this, right? I can't be, I've learned that today is like, whatever I'm going through, somebody has done it, gone through worse. I've come to realize that, the longer I stay sober. I resonated a lot with, hanging out with people that, were worse than you. We kind of choose these like lower companions, as it says, right? And how did you find the new community in recovery, especially at the age of 21? Like, what did you do for that? How did that happen?
Well, the hilarious thing is that, like, actually a lot of those people ended up also in program.
That's great. Yeah.
Also in program. Yeah. A new person would walk in the door and we'd be like, hey, nice to see you again.
Yeah.
But at that time, there were a lot of young women getting sober. And that was the thing. Like I thought my life was over, and really it just began, because we would go out dancing, we would go to concerts, we would do stuff, and I was not doing stuff, right? I remember the first time I went to a concert, and I remembered the end of it, and I was like, oh, this is like so much better. Yeah. This is so much better. Because yes, I was sober, but I was also 22 by this point. And so that meant having fun and getting out there and doing things and staying up till 4 a.m. and drinking too much Red Bull and like all of the stuff. And I actually found that I had so much more fun, and did so much more once I stopped, drinking alone in the basement, which was where it ended up.
Yeah. It's just different, right? Like it's totally different. I feel like I had to get past this. I don't know. I was thinking about it today, but playing the tape through, you hear it so much, and sometimes it's overused, but it's so true. Like whenever I walk by on the patio and I see somebody having a beer, and that thought comes into my mind where I'm like, oh, and thank God it's better now. It's more fleeting. It's, I have tools to deal with it, but wouldn't it be nice if I could have a beer on the patio like that guy, And then I'm quickly reminded of what the next 6 hours, 6 days, 6 months looked like after having that one beer, right? So I feel like there's like, anytime I'm having these triggers or urges, I just have to stop and really be honest with myself, right? And think like, I don't drink like the Bud Light commercial
and
guy.
Moreover, like, do I want to have one beer?
Yeah.
Because I never liked having one.
Never.
I never liked having one.
Yeah.
The reality is the way that I want to drink is I want to get fucked up. Yeah. That's how I want to drink. My mom's not an alcoholic at all. And she stops when she starts to feel something, right? Like that's actually a normal way to drink.
Yeah.
And so I, at a certain point, have to ask myself, like, if I really want to drink, like what? We used to joke and say, I wish I weren't an alcoholic. I would drink every day. Right.
I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that one.
And so like, why do I want this so badly? Because if I have a normal relationship to alcohol, then I should be able to take or leave it. I shouldn't be willing to burn my life to the ground because maybe it'll be fine. I shouldn't be willing to take that risk.
And it's a lot of it is like ego to me today too, where it's like, I want to be able to control everything in my life. Right. And some days sobriety, alcohol, substances feels like the last thing, right? Where it's like, I can control not that I can control everything, but it's like, it's the one thing that kind of really took me down, where your ego kind of comes in and is like, you still have a chance, right? You haven't lost yet, right? And it's like this battle back and forth where, I have the opportunity to be able to control the thing that took me down, right? And that's why they say when you come in here, there has to be no reservation, no lurking notion that somehow, someday I can drink like a normal person. Because to your point, when I see my wife or when I see my mom, same like leaving this much alcohol left on it, and it just blows my mind. And I'm telling someone, like, can you believe that? And they're like, yeah, what? It was like it was warm. Like she probably didn't like it, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm an alcoholic, I'm an addict. I wanted to ask you something because I saw this on Instagram the other day. And I have my answer, but I want to hear your answer. My total identity is not that I'm an alcoholic, right?
Yep.
But at the same time, it's very easy for me to skirt around that a little bit and be like, I'm not an alcoholic anymore at all, right? There's like a balance between that. What do you, like when you say you're an alcoholic or an addict or whatever, what is your identity, I guess, around that? And what do you think about like, because just some quick context, someone on Instagram the other day was like, I don't identify as, it's not my identity. I'm not an alcoholic, but you know what I mean? And I was like, ooh, that's dangerous. Like maybe if you relapsed like I did, you would say that you know what I mean? So what's your thought on that?
I think that it's a filter, right? Like it's one of many. It's not the totality of who I am, right? I am a sister. I'm a Scorpio, I'm a Canadian. Yeah. I am like many things. Yeah. And one of those things is an alcoholic. And so it is something that I just need to keep in mind as I go through the world. It is something that I really need to keep in mind when I encounter anything that has the opportunity to change my mind state.
Yeah.
I really need to keep in mind there, right? But it's just something that I kind of need to keep in mind as I go through the world. Just like when I'm hungry, I'm so irritable and so angry.
Me too.
Right? And so when I'm hungry, I just need to be careful about how I go through the world, you know? It's a piece of me. It's not all of me, but it is a piece of me that needs to be present on a low level kind of all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And, that was, well said. I think that it's especially true because there's this kind of, like I said, this dangerous zone where it's like, well, if I'm not an alcoholic, now I have a back door, right? Or if that's not my whole identity, then what piece of it is me? And then there's these like mental math, like you said in your head, where you're like, well, maybe I'm only 5% alcohol. You know what I mean? So it's like you start justifying, and then you're like, well, if I'm only 5% alcoholic, then that means I can have half a beer or a sip of beer and be okay. I don't know. That's just the way my brain, I could see myself like getting into that situation. So it's a good point. And I like what you said about, whenever I go through really tough situations or mind altering situations, I know what'll fix this quick, right? And for me, it's, alcohol, yes, but more so like any kind of stimulant is like what'll make me more present. You mentioned in the beginning, make me myself, right?
Yep.
Fit into a room perfectly like a puzzle. People are laughing at my jokes more. And then, I don't know, if I look back now, that was maybe 10 minutes of my whole drinking and using career was that actual, like if I looked from the outside and saw myself at the bar, I'd probably say it's, like 2 to 5% of that time was me in that scenario, fitting in, having fun, and then it just went downhill from there. Right. I want to talk a little bit about faith and spirituality. I've been trying to incorporate that a little bit more because I love this topic. I think it's so important. And when I was in rehab this last time and many times before that, but this time especially, I noticed it. When they bring in people to speak in the rehab, every single person that came in talked about their higher power, their spirituality, their God. And it's important to me today. I pray every day. I have my own understanding of a higher power. What is faith to you? What does spirituality look like?
For sure. I've recently been on a little bit of a journey with it. I think I got sober and I had a very uncomplicated relationship with my higher power, where I believed that kind of everything happens for a reason and it'll all work out and it's all for the best and kind of all of those things, right? And that was proven by this experience of this thing that I thought was really terrible, getting sober, right? And it being amazing in the end. And then, not getting a job and getting a better job and like kind of experiences like that, where there was a disappointment and then something better happened. And then when I was, I got married to somebody I met in the program, and it was very wonderful for many years. And then he relapsed. And that set off over like several years of, things would improve and then there would be another relapse and things would improve and then there would be another relapse. And things got very bad. Things got very, very bad. And I got really, really far away from my higher power and from my sponsor. I think that I couldn't admit to anybody else what was going on because then I would have to admit to myself. Yeah. And if I admitted to myself what was happening, then that would mean that my life as I knew it was over, right? Because then some big things were going to have to happen. So I was just trying to pretend that it was okay and that everything was fine. And it was very dark. It was very, very dark. I had no emotional sobriety. I was just up to my eyeballs in denial. And I was like in a lot of pain, and it was a very painful situation. I didn't want to accept what was happening because that would mean that, all my greatest fears would come true. And, they did, right? Like we ended up separating and divorcing, and God, it hurt just as much as I thought it would. It hurt just as much as I thought it would. My life, like we had been together for like 9 years.
Oh, wow.
And we had a life together, and we got together quite young, and every piece of furniture I owned, we had bought together. And every plan I had ever made for my life, we started dating when I was about a year sober, we had made together. And I had made with him in mind, right? And so it was this experience of like, I had felt in many ways like starting over, with my life.
Yeah.
Right. God, and it was so painful.
Yeah.
It was so painful. He's okay. He's okay. But we did get divorced. I think that too much happened. I'll say that. And so, I walked away from that. I will always love him. I wouldn't be the person that I am today without him. He is a wonderful person. And I wish the best for him always. And I do not regret getting married to him, because that's so much part of my journey. And there's so many things that I wouldn't trade. But at the same time, it was maybe the worst thing that ever happened to me, that divorce. And so I was in this place where, my life had fallen apart really in some devastating ways. And at that time, I had some friends who experienced a really terrible personal tragedy, and some other friends who had some really great losses, and I felt like God couldn't help me, because I think that it's easy to say that it all happens for a reason when it's a job, or even when it's a divorce, right? Because with both of those things, there's a possibility of something better coming along, right? Maybe there's another better job out there. Maybe there's another relationship or a marriage that will be a better fit for you, and fit for him.
That's what I was
right.
For him, yeah.
And everyone will be okay, and everyone will be better off. But when somebody dies, especially when that person is young, there's no, this is better. It's not better. It's terrible. It's tragic, and something was said to one of those friends that experienced this tragedy, which was, maybe God said to. And I think that kind of became the cornerstone of the higher power that I would develop, which is not a higher power that grants my wishes, which we always knew, right?
Yeah.
But a higher power that is inside of me and is with me along for the ride. And I had this experience when I got sober of my perspective changing so greatly that it felt like reality shifting.
Yeah.
Right? There were things that I thought were so clearly one way, and I got sober and I did some steps and I did some work, and all of a sudden the ground shifted and it looked completely different.
Yeah.
It felt like the facts of the situation were different, right? And I think that is where my higher power lies, in that power, right?
Yeah.
In the way that connecting with my higher power can change how I feel about the world, and I believe that it's in other people as well, right? That this is something that's maybe inside all of us. And so connecting with my higher power now doesn't mean that anything's ever going to be different. Maybe another better job won't come along. Maybe another relationship won't come along. Maybe another thing won't come along that will make this all for the best. But I will feel joy again. No matter what happens, I will laugh again, right? No matter what happens, there will be good things again. And today I feel so connected with my higher power, and I feel so much joy and happiness, not when I get good feedback at work, or I get to go on a trip, or these big wonderful things happen. It's instead when I look up and there's a really beautiful sunset, or I'm out for a run and I'm loving the song and I feel really fast, and it's this moment that's just so good, right? Or I'm with friends and we're laughing and I feel so connected to them and I feel so much love. Both, I love them so much and I feel so loved by them. And I think that my life is so full of these moments, right, of joy that are free, that are cheap, and that are here all the time. right? Like when I cuddle with my cat and she's like purring and it's so like, it's so wonderful,
Yeah.
right? Or it's a beautiful summer day and it's so hot and we go and get ice cream and it's just like nice to be on earth. And I think that my higher power, like connecting with my higher power today, means seeing and engaging with those moments,
Noticing them,
noticing them, and like really being present for them and really savoring them and letting them mean something, you know? And who knows about all the rest, but like that I can do. And I think that my higher power lets me be there for those moments and lets me be present for those moments. And like, I connect every day with my higher power in hopes that I will get to live a life that I am grateful for, that I am present for, where I show up for people, where I'm proud of myself, and that's like full of love, you know?
I love that. Yeah, that was well said. There's a lot of good stuff there. I really enjoy, the ground shifting is a really powerful metaphor. And I experience that too. I still do to this day, some days where you said something was so one way when you came in, right? And I totally relate to that. Like, nope, I'm doomed. Like you said, my life is over. I'm doomed forever. I cannot have fun without substances, period, full stop, end of story. You're all wrong. I'm right. And then I come into recovery and wait, I could do that sober. Wait, you can have fun. So wait, you can do this. And all these things start to, and slowly it doesn't, for me at least, there wasn't a moment where it was like everything just changed, right? It was very slow. And I understand that some people do have those experiences. I'm sure I've had them here and there, but nothing like completely earth shattering where I was like a new man all of a sudden. It's slowly in my experience over time. One more sunset. That's a beautiful one too, because I can really be present. If I just leave my damn phone at home, I can be present in those moments and really enjoy them. One sunset at a time, one hug at a time, I used to hate cats and then I had to babysit my sister-in-law's cat and it purred on me one time. And I was like, this is actually really
nice. It's so good. It's so
I took a video of it. I was like, this is really
Or
nice.
you come home and your dog is so happy to see you.
You're like, what? Me? Yeah. I'm a piece of shit. Why are you happy to see me?
I think that life is so full of those like just tiny moments and you get used to them and it's so easy to skirt by them.
So easy.
It's so easy to skirt by them, but like, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's what it's fucking about.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you tap into them?
I think that I try really, really hard to be, this has been a project, like being present for this stuff has been a project of the past couple of years, right? Of really like wanting to be there for those. And gratitude lists are a big part of it, when I feel connected to the moment, like really like sitting in it and like noticing it and like taking a minute with it, and getting really honing in on the things that I care about and that I like and make me feel good. Like I fucking love sunsets. Every time it's great. I love ice cream. I love my cat. Like, what are the things that are not big, that are small, that I love, and like making space in my life for them. Making a point of doing those things, of ensuring that my life is full of those things. And also like I think there were times when I thought this isn't working, and it just takes time. I want everything now.
Yeah, same.
Every time.
I want it yesterday.
Right? And quick fixes go away quickly. And when I take the time to build something, it's sticky and it lasts. And I just need to remember that.
I really like when you're in it, trauma, pain, and it feels like it's never going to end, rehab, whatever, insert whatever here, loss, grief, depression, suicidal ideations. the idea of just reminding myself that this too shall pass. And you said that, right? It's like, I will feel joy again.
Yes.
Just not on my fucking time, right? Not on my time, but I will get there eventually. Sometimes I have to beat that into my head, right?
Yep.
And that's where journaling comes in, and praying, and because when it's in here, it doesn't work,
sure.
right? Like I need to get it out there, and it's hard some days, right?
I'm like, some days we thrive and some days we survive. And I've heard people say, my worst day sober is better than my best day drinking. That is not my experience. Yeah. Let me tell you, that is not my experience. I have had some very, very, very bad days sober, but, and sometimes it's just about going to bed and getting up again and like getting through, because the good will come again. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. There was a time when I think I felt like that, but yeah, like there's been some days. I do always say this though, that it's always, to at least right today, it's easier for me to stay in recovery than it was for me to come back into recovery, like full stop today. That might change, right? I might go through something. I will go through something, I'm sure. Life is going to happen. And there's also a lot of freedom in knowing that too, that I'm going to experience loss. There's a chance. There's a lot of freedom in that, because every day is like a preparation for that. Kind of sounds fucked up, but at the same time, it's like life is going to happen, man, and you have no control over it. That's just as good as the good things are going to happen too, right? If you had control over them, you would sell yourself short, right? We say that every time we come in here. If I could plan my life out for the next 30 years, I would sell myself short, because I've done it. I've done it before, right? Remember when you wanted what you have now. It's like, I wanted this thing. I wanted this podcast to start off. I wanted whatever. And you get it. And to your point, it's like, what's next?
Yep.
How do I make money on
that?
This
Wasn't it?
Yeah. This doesn't feel like I thought it would, right? It almost never feels good too when I get the job, the car, that like, it's just, I'm like, oh. And because go ahead.
Even now when I want things, I have to remind myself that like there's people in my life that have those things, and I don't think they feel how I want to feel. I don't think they feel how I think I'm going to feel, It's not going to fix it. All of that stuff is not going to fix it. And like, during those dark days, I did not drink because I knew that it would only make it worse. Not better, definitely.
Were you close?
I had a moment that was, I was at a work party, and it was I had just joined a new team, and so I didn't really know anybody. And my rule when I was getting sober was that one person always had to know the full story. One person always had to know the complete story, because that was a fail-safe, right? Because I would have the thought, I don't want to drink in front of this person, and that would usually give me enough distance to like get out of there, make a phone call, do whatever I needed, right? But I did not have that in this moment. And so it was like a holiday party, and we were at a bar, and I ordered a non-alcoholic drink, and they brought it over, and it had a straw, and I took a huge sip, and it was down before I realized that there was alcohol in it. And I put the drink down, and I felt all warm. And this was like I was like not in a great emotional place when this was happening. And it was not a great emotional situation, because I was around a bunch of people I did not know. And I was already kind of uncomfortable, right? Like so many feelings. But I was a month away from 10 years. And the thought that I had was, I gotta get 10 years. And that gave me enough space to call a friend and like get out of there and go home, Wow. But I like, that was very close.
That could have went many different ways.
That could have went many different ways.
I'm just imagining in my
right.
head.
And especially the fact that I felt warm.
I know that feeling.
So, I mean, thank God that could have really gone badly. And in retrospect, like I should have been more careful in that, I had gotten so comfortable, being around alcohol, being around people who were drinking, all of that stuff. That's a relatively big part of my life. Like I like to go out, I like to do stuff. And so I had gotten too comfortable, I think, and not recognized the emotional place I was in, because I had a reaction to that accident that was big and was not the reaction I would normally have if I was like in a really good, steady, sober, emotional place.
Yeah. And spiritual place too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, and I'm not going to speak for you, but I'm just thinking about in myself in that, because I've been in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was at my sister's birthday party and was at one of the bars downtown, and everyone knew I was in, like, no one had known I'd relapsed yet because I wasn't drinking and I was just doing my Adderall and stuff like that. And I remember ordering a Virgin Caesar, and I remember her, like, I knew she didn't hear me, but I didn't like make sure, right? And so I feel like when you're in a place like that, you're kind of, your guard is kind of down, right? And you're like, I mean, this is at least for me. If she screws this up right now, I'm not going to be upset. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to, like, oh, well, if I drink, I drink, right? And it's just because, to your point, like, I'm not in a good place. I'm not bringing my toolbox from my car into the bar, right? My spiritual toolbox, my kit of calling people, telling somebody everything. I had a sponsor that told me that too. Make sure, no matter what you do in life, make sure there's one person on this friggin' planet that knows everything. No secrets, right? And so I try to follow that today. And you know, I've often skirted that and been like, well, you know, my wife knows everything, but it's like, I got to tell someone in recovery, right? Because, you know, she's a lot more educated now, but there was times where she didn't know that ADHD medication could have been a problem for me, right? So that's my master manipulator. It's like, no, I got to tell somebody that knows, right? And yeah, I love that. I think it's super important to bring that toolkit in, but also that's crazy. Wow. So you ended up getting to 10 years. That's an amazing moment. What does your day look like today? What are like some must-dos in recovery to stay connected and stay grounded?
Prayer every day.
Yeah.
I should meditate more than I do. I try and do a gratitude list every day. That's really important. Connecting with people, you know, keeping my friends and my family and the people that I love in mind, and being present for them and showing up for them. You know, that's something I pray for a lot, to show up for the people in my life. Being of service, sponsoring, showing up at work or like everywhere, you know. I think that there's so many ways to do service. It's not just helping somebody else in recovery. It's showing up for all of the people who are in my life. A really big thing is trying to be the person I want to be, right? And like figuring out what I value and what matters to me and like embodying that in every moment. That is as much part of daily recovery as anything else, I think, you know. Really making an effort to show up as my best self every day in all areas of my life. And then, you know, doing the work, doing step work, going to meetings, things like that.
Yeah, I think sometimes I have to, you know, just service can be as simple to me today as like, I'm not going to bring my phone to dinner, right? Because that's something I've been struggling with. It's been voiced to me by people in my life. Like, hey, you've been on your phone a lot in public. And that's that's not me showing up at all, right? So showing up could be as simple as just, for me, leaving my phone in the car and being available, being present, like you said, being the brother, son, husband that I want to be. When I first came in to recovery, I had a sponsor say to me, just always, you know, what kind of man do you want to be? And do your actions reflect that, right? If I ask myself that every day, like, I'm in the right direction. You know, I'm not perfect. I'm nowhere near perfect, but I'm making progress, not perfection, like you said. The other thing too that you mentioned, I wanted to touch too on the perspective change, because that's so important. Have you been able to help anyone that's gone through what you've gone through? Has that opportunity presented itself yet?
Nothing really specifically that's mine, but I do think that the feelings are so universal.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that I've been able to help people who have experienced real bottoms in sobriety, who have experienced the feeling of their life falling apart in sobriety, or who are struggling with their sense of a higher power because things that have happened that have like rightfully shaken the idea of that, you know? So I think that those are areas where I've been able to like bring that forward. But my experience is a pretty specific one. And so it's not necessarily the same as like, you know, I remember getting sober and people would say, I know exactly how you feel. And I believed them.
Yeah.
And they would say, I feel better. And I believed them. And it was like a weight off. I haven't necessarily had that same specific experience with this. But I do think that there's a nuance that experience has taught me. I no longer prescribe to like a really rigid idea of what recovery looks like.
Yeah.
I think that what I've learned from that experience is just like how much things can go wrong and you can still be okay, you know? And how much you can do the wrong thing, which I did do. Like I did so many of the wrong things, you know? I was so, I was in denial and I was so controlling and I was so codependent and I was so much of all of these things, you know? And like, it's okay. It's okay. It's not ideal. It's not the best thing, but like, it's okay. It happens, you know? There's, I think, a lot of freedom that I found in that experience. It's taught me how to be chill in a way that I was not capable of before, you know? I think that for many years I was a perfectionist. I was very anxious. And that kind of beat it out of me, right? Because like it felt like the worst happened and I got through it. And so that's a great lesson that like really bad stuff can happen. And
if I can get through that, I can get through anything.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I think I really learned this too, from my wife going through it, like me in addiction. I mean, it's really tough, you know, to watch someone you love go through that day after day when they know the answer's on the other side of the river, right? Yeah. It's like a bunch of people are just like, hey, come over to this side, cross the bridge. It's right here. But when we're in addiction and active alcoholism, that bridge, it's like this, right? It's like has spikes on it and shit. Like it's literally impossible sometimes to just make the first step onto that bridge. Yeah. And I think I've gotten a new perspective of how my drinking and drugging has impacted people around me. So I commend you for that. Like that's really, really tough. But you had to make some hard decisions, you know. But to my earlier point is like, let's go. What else you got? Like, well, you know, I could do anything now.
And right? I mentioned earlier that like, save for my family, like basically everyone I love, almost all of them are addicts or alcoholics. And they're so fun and wonderful. Yeah. And I love them so much. And also they're sick, right? Like they're sick.
We are.
I'm sick, yes, right? We're all sick. And so sometimes things get crazy, you know? And that's just kind of how it is, you know? It's not wellness.
Yeah. As long as like you said, some days I'm gripping the steering wheel some days.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love what you said. It's like, as long as I can put my pillow on the head tonight sober, I've done my job. Yep. Tomorrow's going to be different. It might not be better, but it'll be different.
Yes.
Right. Love it. Oh, it's beautiful. Let's close with this because I usually close with this. If you could say something to a struggling alcoholic or an addict or somebody in recovery going through trauma, maybe, what would you say to that person right now?
So I would say that I think that in my very worst moments, I would have done anything to feel better. I would have done anything to feel better. But I had no idea what anything was. I had no idea what to do. And so I think if you feel like that, if you feel like you would do anything to feel better and to like not feel this pain anymore, there is something you can do. There is a solution, you know? It exists, recovery exists. It's simple, but it is not easy. but like you don't have to live in that pain anymore. Getting sober was the hardest thing I ever did, but it's also the thing that I am most proud of. It is the most important thing in my life. It is the kind of cup from which everything else flows. And I think that I would say that, like, it can't get better. And it does get better. Just like reach out. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for coming down, Bridget. I
Of course.
appreciate you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I had a great time today. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening. Please help us grow the channel and like, share, and subscribe for more content. The discussions and stories shared on this podcast are for informational and motivational purposes only. This content is not a substitute for professional medical advice, addiction treatment, or therapy. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please consult a licensed physician, addiction specialist, or mental health professional. You are no longer alone.